Alrighty. Um, I'm going to try something a little different. We're going to talk about combining stuff. So let's talk about Firemouth and Flowerhorn. Has it been done? No. And if you want a bigger rundown on Firemouth, there should be a link up here towards the top somewhere. And that will take you to my video on Firemouth more so as a species, what it has to the hybrids. This is going to be a lot more cut and dry, like, hey, this is what we got, this is what we're going. But if you want a more in-depth of like feeling around, go watch that video. But let's go ahead and hop right into it. Firemouth to Flowerhorn, what are the traits that we kind of want? What are the traits that are going to be given? How do we know that this is going to happen? And what can we kind of go about it, right? So Flowerhorn, right off the bat, if I was going for one, I'd get a nice red undertone. Either it's an SRD with a half, either it's full face or half the body red is a must. Or like a two-tone comp, a super red Flowerhorn, something with a lot of color. And I'll show you why in a minute. Then I go, second thing is a lot of pearls. I want a high purling on it. And then nice fins. So first reason why for color is on here. You can see that some of them are color receptive. This one shows some color trans going around. This one's some color. This is a blood pair and it also has some color move over. Obviously not the best because blood pairs suck. But we also see that pearls move over. Some pearls here, pearls on the Jack Dempsey, pearls on the Texas. So we can know that some color is going to move over, and we know that the pearls are going to move over. The other thing that we're going to be quickly running over on this is the fins. Fins are nice there. Fins are nice on the Jack Dempsey, on the Jaguar. The fins are nice on the convict mixes, which con males have pretty long fins. So we could say that having a nice male Flowerhorn for this mix is going to make it a lot easier to get what we want. Now, what else does Flowerhorn bring to the table? You're like, well, they've got a beak. That is definitely negative. Beak is definitely negative. But they are seemingly color receptive. They seem to be pearl receptive in instances. And then the fins. The fins are super nice. If this Flowerhorn had this fin structure, obviously it'd be a little bit more squared out, so it'd probably come about right here. And then there'd be the two trailers on that. That could be a super cool trait on Flowerhorn. Obviously, it wouldn't be the traditional Super Red Dragon. It would be its own thing as long as you run it through this. You run it to like 4 generations. You could have your own new Flowerhorn type with this. So the other thing I think that is amazing about Firemouths is their ability to flare their gills. It's a super, super cool display to watch. If Flowerhorns had that, they're already a high aggression. I think it'd be super mint. I think it'd just be super, super clean. If you had your Flowerhorn with its nunchal hub coming at you and it flared out and it just went I don't like the Flowerhorns where their neck comes out like that. But if it was all tucked in and pretty and then came at you and flared it out like a Dilophosaurus, it would be pretty freaking clean. So with that in mind, fins, color, pearls, how would I go about breeding it? So this mix, I do a step forward, I do a step forward, a step back, and then 2 steps forward. So how that's going to look is I would do Flowerhorn to Firemouth, which Firemouth's scientific name is Thoricthies Miki. So I'm just going to call that Miki. We then get F1. F1 is 50-50. I then do F1X Miki. You're like, oh, that's taking it back. It is taking it back. And that'll give you F2, which is 75-25. But I'd also, if for whatever scenario and reality we live in, if you get a fertile male, I would run F1 to F1. And this will give you an F2. That is 50. Right. So we'll call this one F2A and F2B. Just to show, A means that it was just added, B means that it's been aligned 1 generation, right? So grandparents were when the last new blood was added. Means it's one of the parents. So I would then do Flowerhorn X F2A. This is going to give you F3, F3, and this percentage will be 62.5% Flowerhorn. And so let me just put it on the right side. 62.5% Flowerhorn, 37.5% Brick Thighs. Mickey. So, with that, this should be a pretty heavy Flowerhorn base at this point. I would also do the F2B, so Flowerhorn. And this is going to give you F3 as well. This mix is going to be 25% Firemouth, 75% Flowerhorn. This generation, so you then have kind of like a split of what you can do. You could take this. You could do sibling. You could do back cross to Flowerhorn. Let me just take this over here. So you have your F3s, right? Which gives you 3 different lines you can kind of chase for a heavy Flowerhorn look. Okay, so first off, you could take this one back to Flowerhorn, F3 X Flowerhorn. Going to give you F4, which is going to be like 18.75% Firemouth, and then is equal to 162.5 divided by 2. It's going to be 81% Flowerhorn. This generation should look super Flowerhorn and possibly have like very little influence. Obviously, I would suggest your F3 X your F4 at that point, or an F5, which is going to give you a mix of percentages. And this would be a fun generation. This generation would be fun. Be like, okay, I want more Flowerhorn. Then use that F6 to a Firemouth, or start using that around. This generation, basically the same thing as over here. The only difference is, instead of getting this percentage, you'd get 12.5% Firemouth and like 81. No. What is it? $87. Yeah. 87.5% Flowerhorn. So like a 6% difference. This one, you could do this. Honestly, I'm going to say scratch that. At this point, use your F4 for an X towards the Rick Thighs or something new. Because like the Comfa looping, this starts to get low. This would be like the right before you get to the F4 Comfa Flowerhorn. If you haven't watched that video, that should be up here. I'm pointing to my left and it's in the right side, but should be up in the yeah, it should be up in the corner for the Comfa video so you can understand those loops. The third loop you could do would be combining these two F3s, right? F3. Okay, how in the world, out of all of these things, did I get one that doesn't have that? We go F3 X F3, right? You're crossing the two lines together. You'd be crossing this percentage and this percentage. You've got your Flowerhorn. Well, let's just do your Flowerhorn percent is 60. 62.5 plus 75. Where's the plus? Plus 75 divided by 2 This is going to be equal to this, subtract by 100, blah, 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 blah. So you have 31.25% Miki, Firemouth, and 68.75% Flowerhorn. This generation... So this generation is kind of a fun generation. You could either back cross it to Firemouth or back cross it to Flowerhorn. Honestly, with this one, if I was doing it, I'd probably run it as a Comfa almost, because this would be your F4 technically. And I'd run that bad boy to Comfa. I'd do your F4X. Okay, this is gonna make me irate. And then I just run your F4, X your F1, F4, X your F2. And literally just super simple. Super simple loops. You're just pulling off the traits from the Firemouth, honestly. I mean, if you're having a nice nunchal hump, you're going to pull that off. You're going to flatten up the face. You're going for a nice color. You're going for some nice fins. This is going to give you some different presence. The Firemouth also might dwarf the long-term size of your mix, which isn't going to technically be a bad thing. I will say when I did mix my Jaguar and my Firemouth that the aggression did go up, 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 up. And I was not a... I mean, I loved it. It was fantastic, but I couldn't have a ton of stuff in there with it because it was such a tank buster. So if you're going for something like this could be a really fun way to make a smaller, super aggressive, showy Flowerhorn, and then eventually taking it into a Comfa line, which if you haven't watched that Comfa video, go back and watch that. And you could get some really cool traits once you start building your line and then start adding other lines of it together. It could be super unique and something that people want. You just have to start doing it. You don't have to follow the thing that everybody else does. But if you want, comment. Let me know what you're thinking. Follow me back on Instagram or Facebook. And let me know what you guys want to see next. Deuces.